Welcome to Marriage IQ, the podcast for the intelligent spouse.
I'm Dr. Heidi Hastings.
And I'm Dr. Scott Hastings.
We are two doctors, two researchers, two spouses, two lovers, and two incredibly different human beings coming together for one purpose: to transform the stinky parts of your marriage into scintillating ones, using intelligence mixed with a little fun.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Marriage IQ. Yes, we are so glad that you joined us again today. And the Hastings Institute of Advanced Marital Studies. How does that sound to you, honey?
I love it. It sounds very official and professional.
Kind of has a ring to it, doesn't it?
Maybe we'll head towards that in a few years.
Well, here at Marriage IQ, we don't want to have anyone feel like they've been ripped off. So this is a guarantee. If you do not like the content that we're bringing to you every week, you get your money back. 100% of your money is returned to you.
I agree. That's a great deal.
Wait a minute.
That's funny.
We don't charge anything. That's right, folks.
That's hilarious.
All free, but if you don't like it, just let us know. We will give you every last dime back.
You're just making my day. Starting off with a bang.
Well, this is a subject I've been wanting to talk about. So this is kind of my project.
I get to be the commentary and hopefully ask questions that you might ask, or for clarification that you might ask for, bring up some points, challenge them if I feel like it needs to be done.
You know, I did this episode 29, No Girls Allowed. This is a podcast for men today. And it did really well.
What do you mean this is a podcast for men?
Well,
today?
Mainly men.
This is a part two? Of your first
of the
episode
first one, yeah,
29.
episode 29.
Okay.
If you haven't listened to episode 29, go back and listen to it, men. This time, I am not going to exclude women. This is not for women today. This is for men, for your husbands. But if you want to listen and watch, we're not going to force you out. Just know this.
It's really good for women, I bet.
Just know this, and Heidi, your perspective is very, very important here. I want you to chime in, jump in where you feel like you need some clarification or you want to add some commentary or research support. Some people just don't feel very intimate with their spouse.
We hear that a lot.
Their sex life is like their social media feed, very short and highly reactive.
Well, and maybe their sex life is okay, but there's nothing intimate outside of the bedroom. So
yeah,
intimacy. The two really are highly linked.
Very much so. Heidi and I were thinking about different recent social media feeds and things in the news, like the recent airplane crash or the new weight loss shot clinic, Barron Trump's hair, cosmetic laser treatments, the U.S. jobless claims last month, or you like this one, the new fall fashion. 5 eyeliner tips every woman should know. And don't forget, 9 signs that reveal how your spouse is a narcissist.
Mm.
So I want to tell you this story. I like stories. This is a fictional story. This did not really happen, although it may have happened and I didn't know about it. But this is a fictional story. 3 wives, friends, they meet together for lunch. They're chit-chatting about life, about their husbands. It turns to their husbands. The first woman begins boasting about how good their sex lives are.
Sounds more like a men's conversation.
With her husband. She says, "My husband is a beast in bed. He knows what he wants. He takes control. He's confident, strong, and decisive." The second wife says, "Well, my husband is a ninja in bed. He's a Jedi master. He knows all the tricks and techniques and performs them with exactness. I really like that. The third wife, who's sitting there, who's generally more quiet, reserved than the other two, she pipes up and says, "My husband is a sloth in bed." To which the two other wives just stare, mouths open, gaping in shock, and perhaps jealous silence. As the third wife giggles quietly to herself.
You think they'd be jealous? A sloth kind of has a bad rap.
We're going to talk about sloths today, men, because real men are sloths. Today, you're going to learn about that.
And you're using that term in a good term, I'm guessing.
Well, look, what are sloths? They're very slow-moving animals. They are very slow-moving animals. And again, I come to you today speaking to you as a man, but also as a doctor. So I'm going to throw in some medical stuff here. Heidi is not a man.
No, I'm not. And I'm not a medical doctor.
And so that's why I really need your support and maybe some clarification.
Sure.
If you've watched any YouTube channels on sloths, they are considered the world's slowest mammal. They move very, very slowly. I'm not talking today, men, about how quickly you respond to your wife's requests to do the dishes or take out the trash.
Ah, darn.
I am not talking today about how you approach your professional life and your career. Real men are sloths in the bedroom behind closed doors with their wives.
Thank you
So,
for clarifying that.
yeah, Heidi and I watched a YouTube channel the other day just to kind of get a sense of how sloths move. They are very slow.
Such an interesting mammal.
They are. We learned a lot of things about sloths that won't make the cut on this episode, but they're kind of funny. They do take their time. They do not rush, these sloths. They're not in a hurry to get to the next thing. Sloths are deliberate and mindful. Every movement a sloth makes is intentional. Sloths are non-threatening. They don't come on too strong or too aggressively. They are gentle. Sloths conserve energy for what matters. Instead of flailing with effort, a sloth moves with calm confidence. Sloths live in harmony with their environment. They blend in. They listen to rhythms and move in sync with nature. So you're learning today, men, how to become a sloth.
That's a pretty good analogy.
I've been thinking about this
Only you
for a
think
long
in
time.
that kind of realm.
Nowhere else in the podcast world are you going to find an episode on real men are sloths. Here you go.
Or a brain like Scott Hastings.
Now, having said this, men, there are a load of prerequisite courses you need to take before you even get to the point of learning, mastering, and refining the art of the sloth. Here at the Hastings Institute for Advanced Marital Studies, we don't just let any man try to learn this time-honored craft.
No, this is a special course for special men.
It must be earned through intense focus on the specific attributes of honesty, integrity, vulnerability, authenticity, and trust.
Ah,
It's probably a lot
that
more.
is a real man.
Those are big ones.
So this is like the graduate school of real men.
That's right. The Hastings Institute for Advanced Marital Studies. You can't just tell your wife tonight that you're going to be a sloth in bed.
It sounds a little off-putting.
If you're spending too much time at work, too much time socializing with friends, too much time on your special hobbies, and men, we all know what they are, and not enough time with your wife, not enough time with your children, if you're too worried about what your boss or your friends or your dog thinks of you, if you're too distracted by sports or parties or professional meetings, then man, you are not sloth material. This is why intimacy is the fourth cornerstone of the four cornerstones of a scintillating marriage. You have to learn the other three cornerstones. They are identity. Sloths know their identity. They are confident. They are meek. They know who they are. Sloths are intentional. That's our second cornerstone. They live and breathe with purposeful planning and execution in their personal life. Third cornerstone, sloths have insight. They learn deeply from past mistakes and mishaps. They know and are able to recognize their emotional states and reactivity and quickly correct course when needed. They gain emotional intelligence. They learn how to regulate emotional reactions, and they purposefully create ideas for the future. Sloths know what they want. They plan. They are fully aware of their present state, of the here and right now. They are attentive to the moment right now. In a study by Levitt et al., 2021, they found newlyweds who slowed down, like the sloth, became more fully aware of their state of being and physical surroundings, were more likely to have a flourishing relationship and sexual harmony, and increased orgasmic frequency. We actually interviewed Shalom Levitt.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Shalom Levitt.
Marriage IQ. I think that was episode 22.
So just to clarify, when newlyweds slow down, are you talking about slowing down their sexual experience, or are you talking about slowing down just in general, being more mindful in their lives?
Yes.
Both. Okay.
Just being more present in the present moment. That can be hard for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, interestingly, they found that even if only one spouse was doing this, it still diffused into the relationship. Think about it. If you're the only one doing this, it can still help your relationship, even if your spouse says, no way, I'm not doing this.
That's really good to know, because I do hear from time to time people say, I want to do this, but my spouse won't.
Yep. This studies, at least from Levitt, shows this actually works even if only one spouse is doing it.
And that really goes along with what we say at the end of every single episode. If you want to change your relationship, it can start with just one person. It starts with me.
Yeah, that's a good point. That really is. Let's go back to the differences between men and women. We've talked about this in previous podcast episodes.
Quite a few.
But this serves as a very important backdrop and a foundation for what we're talking today. Also, you might want to go back and listen to, as I said previously, episode 29, No Girls Allowed, episode 22, 6 Minutes. That was with Shalom Levitt. And episode 41, Libido Lab, Secrets to Unlocking Female Sexual Capacity. So here's kind of a summary of these things. I want to put a little bit of a spin to it on between men and women. Men, as we know, and again, we're not stereotyping here. We're talking about at least half of the men, half of the women. So it's a trend. We're not stereotyping. This may not be your own unique personal experience.
Thank you for leaving space for that.
Yeah, we have to, right? These are just these. This is research. These are studies. We're trying to make trends and patterns out of this. So men typically have more spontaneous sex drives. They are more orgasm focused. Part of that is they touch what they have to urinate out of every day, multiple times a day, the same way they touch what they have an orgasm with. So they are more
familiar.
Orgasm focused. They're more familiar with touching themselves because they have to.
Well, just more familiar in general with their sexual organs because they're on the outside.
Right. They are much more likely to seek out new sexual partners with no contextual history.
It's a rough one.
That is, guys are more likely to look at a lineup of women and say, I'll pick that one. They're more quickly aroused psychologically and physiologically. And the psychological and physiological responses are often aligned in sync with each other. For example, they think about sex, they want sex, and they start having a penile erection that goes along with that. Everything makes sense.
All within a few seconds.
Well, all within a short period of time, almost simultaneously for a lot of men. Orgasms happen almost automatically with visual and sexual stimulation after anywhere between a few seconds to several minutes for men. Men may find stories uninteresting, fantasy stories, things like that. They might be too long and they'd rather just get down to business. They are definitely stimulated more visually than they are through stories. Women, on the other hand, are more responsive and contextual with their sex drive. Less spontaneous. It's about 70%, 70-30. This does not automatically mean that they have a lower sex drive. Let me repeat that. This does not automatically mean they have a lower sex drive. Different does not mean inferior. It means different, men. Remember that. Physiologic arousal may or may not align closely with women's psychological arousal, like it does in men. This may cause a lot of confusion in both men and women. For example, women may not want sex at all, but her perivaginal glands may start secreting fluids that look like she wants it.
That is especially confusing.
It is. For the intelligent man, he knows this. For the sloth, he knows this. Women don't typically choose to seek out a new sexual partner without knowing something about them first. This is why women are far more likely to have affairs with coworkers or with friends or
somewhere where there's a story or a relationship or a history.
Where there's a history of some kind of a narrative relationship.
Mm-hmm.
For men, that's not necessarily true. Again, line them up on the wall. That's just how it is, folks. So even if a woman is having a one-night stand with the guy she just met at the bar, a complete stranger, she needs to know something about this guy so she can have a story rolling in her head. She needs to feel comfortable and safe in the arms of this man who is having sex with her. He's not thinking about a story of her like she is of him. Whether the need to feel safe and secure is intentionally planned by the woman or it's unintentional and reactive, perhaps stemming from a history of sexual assaults in her past, women still need to feel safe enough and secure enough and to trust enough the most intimate parts of her body to someone else for at least 6 minutes. We learned about 6 minutes is the average length of sexual intercourse.
Yeah.
And this comes from this book. It's called Why Women Have Sex by Meston and Buss. And back to that Shalom Levitt research, women's spontaneous sex drive may in fact start after that sexual touch and or penile penetration has begun. Women need stories with rich context and meaning, as we said. We know this because about roughly 90 to 95% of consumers of erotic literature are women. So there's 50% women out there, but they consume almost all of the erotic literature, romance novels, things like that. Because again, it's a narrative, it's a storyline, it's building. Stories including affection and strong emotional connection to each other lead them down a path that builds her desire because it builds meaning for her. Because many women do need stories, they do take longer to orgasm. Good stories take time to tell. And it's in the unfolding fantasy story where the woman's orgasm awaits. Studies including Lund et al. In 1991 and Mora et al. 2020 and Cantula in 2016 support this idea of some sort of storyline or narrative fantasy women use to be able to orgasm more frequently. Thoughts? Sound right?
I would say that I don't know what to say about that because
So
that's really interesting. I think that will help a lot of women understand better what they need, especially if they're struggling to orgasm.
that's right. Yep. So we're teaching men here today. I think women might also learn a few things.
For women who do struggle with orgasm, this is definitely something you might want to play around with a little bit. Even if the story is with you and your spouse from early in your relationship or early in your marriage or whatever you want, that is really good.
So I want to just take a moment here to talk about something I haven't really heard of before. It's called female ambivalence. This,
Explain that. I haven't either.
well, this is really confusing, a lot of this stuff. If I were a woman, I'd be ambivalent too. I'd be actually really confused. Let's back up. From the research we learned, women aren't turned on up here in the head, but they may be turned on down below.
Yeah, but isn't that a lower percentage of women?
I don't know the exact percentages, but Emily Nagoski in her book, Come As You Are, talked about this phenomenon
Right.
where women can actually have the physiologic responses to being turned on.
Right. I
But
do remember
not
that
psychologically.
as well. I remember that as well. I want to say it was maybe only 30% of women, maybe even less, but it is a phenomenon that does happen with some women. So some of our listeners may identify with that, but a large number may be like, not my experience.
Well, I will say that women, according to a study, Lehmeyer, 2018, this is over 4,000 women.
Okay, that's quite a few.
They interviewed 62% of them fantasized of being overpowered or dominated sexually. Now, the number
Those words, overpowered or dominated.
submission
Okay,
fantasies.
that's maybe,
Well, when you submit, that means you're dominated by someone.
okay.
So-
well, domination to me sounds more not with kindness or gentleness, but with,
Okay. Well,
I guess the word can encompass a whole lot of things
all right.
for different women's experiences.
So whether it's submission, whether it's domination, there's a power imbalance.
okay, I understand.
So this study, 4,000 women, 2018, Miller, 62% of these women interviewed said they had fantasized about this. Now, you need to remember there's something called social desirability bias. And when you have questions like this that could be considered socially unacceptable,
Especially in our day.
that number that's reported is probably low. So that number is probably higher, significantly higher. So I guess my point here is,
Socially, that is unacceptable in our time right now for a woman to want to be dominated by a man or
well,
be submissive to
right,
a man.
exactly. So
But in fantasy,
right,
maybe.
yes, these women,
acceptable.
these same women abhor the very thought of it going on outside the bedroom. You know,
Okay.
we hear about it, we read about it all the time of these sexual assaults and things, men on women. And so it's very unacceptable outside the bedroom, but inside their head, it's very common. And it just is.
Not sexual assault inside their head, but just being submissive,
Fantasizing, being
being
taken.
cared for. Okay.
According to another survey, National Survey of Sexual Health and Behavior, 2010, sex can be very painful for women. Depending on the study, the majority of women experienced pain at least at some point during sex, during their most recent sexual encounter. But yet at the same time, it's very pleasurable for women, which can really mess with your head. Is it pain or is it pleasure? I don't know.
Maybe there's some moments of pain and some moments of pleasure. And depending on the pain and the root of that, one may definitely overpower the other.
It is ripe for confusion, ambivalence, however you want to put it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying not to use the word confusion very much because I have a daughter who does not like when I use that word when it comes to this whole phenomenon. So not confusion, but ambivalence and very perplexing. I'll put it that way. Another thing they're dealing with as women is, I didn't want sex literally 10 minutes ago, and now that it started, I really do. What's going on? That's as if these women live in a paradoxical world.
We talk about that a lot, that we make the decision with our head and then our body seems to follow.
So, men, we don't have to deal with a lot of this stuff. We don't have to worry about our bodies being not synchronized when we're sexually aroused. Women do, at least some women.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really have to worry about pain during sex. A lot of women do.
Especially
and they have to deal with that perplexing phenomenon of pain and pleasure.
Mm.
Or not wanting sex, and now, oh my gosh, wait, what's happening? Now I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the whole fantasy thing we talked about outside the bedroom, it's absolutely terrible.
Those are a lot of very perplexing
things to think about.
Paradoxes.
All right. This is where, to further buttress my argument here, my idea, we were traveling from Dallas to Auckland, which is a terribly long flight. I think it was like 15 and a half hours. And I was just flipping through movies and I saw Barbie and I thought, ugh. I know it's a controversial movie. I get it for a lot of men, for some women. I thought, oh, what the heck? I'll just watch it. I want to get some perspective here. And actually, it was pretty eye-opening to me. It was not what I expected. And I'm glad I watched it. Not that I necessarily agree with a lot of the points that they're making, but there was one really great point made. It was a monologue played by this actor, Gloria, in the movie. The actress name is America Ferrera. She plays a human character who works at Mattel. She is married. She has a daughter, Sasha. And she serves as a guide for Barbie when Barbie travels from her fictional Barbie land to the real world. And this is what she says about women. I love this. That's why I quoted it, and it fits right in with what I'm saying here. Gloria says, "It's literally impossible to be a woman. You are so beautiful and so smart. And it kills me that you don't think you're good enough. Like, we have to always be extraordinary, but somehow we're always doing it wrong. You have to be thin, but not too thin. And you can never say you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy, but also you have to be thin. You have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's crass. You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all the damn time. You have to be a career woman, but also always be looking out for other people. You have to answer for men's bad behavior, which is insane, but if you point that out, you're accused of complaining. You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much or that you threaten other women because you're supposed to be part of the sisterhood. But always stand out and always be grateful, But never forget that the system is rigged. So find a way to acknowledge that, but also always be grateful. You have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never show fear, never get out of line. It's too hard. It's too contradictory, and nobody gives you a medal or says thank you. And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault. I'm just so tired of watching myself and every single other woman tie herself into knots so that people will like us. And if all of that is also true for a doll just representing women, then I don't even know.
That's pretty accurate in a lot of ways, and so sad that social scripts are so influential on women that we can't have an identity, that we can't personally know who we are, that we feel so stuck in that desire to belong to what society expects of us that we're going crazy.
That changes today, folks. You're right. Being a woman is hard. I think ambivalence
is complex.
It's very, very complex. So add all of that, what Gloria just said in her monologue, which probably is the highlight of the entire film. Now add into that, well, to me, add to that all this ambivalence regarding the woman's sexual identity. No wonder why we have a seismic chasm between the sexes. Yeah, the word gaslighting does come to mind here.
What do you mean?
Well, I think it's used a lot to probably control women.
Okay, agreed.
So this all stops today because real men are sloths.
And do you want to give a definition just in case there's somebody out there who doesn't know what gaslighting is?
Oh, yeah. It's trying to convince someone else of something that's not true and kind of make them start feeling like they're going crazy. That's pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
So can you men help your wife overcome ambivalence regarding their own sexual identity?
Mm-hmm.
We think you can. And it starts with sexual communication. Actually, just communication in general. But we're talking more about sexual ambivalence today. Because women have seemingly contradictory narratives going on in their heads, they may be ambivalent about what they actually want out of you or themselves sexually. This is pretty normal for a lot of women. Think about it.
Yes,
for a
it
woman, sex may hurt, but it also may feel good at the same time. She wants to feel safe and protected by you, but she also wants to fantasize about you, surrendering herself to you. We don't do this as guys. Sex doesn't hurt. We don't fantasize about surrendering ourselves to our wives or to anyone else, really, for the most part. Again, I'm
generally
not
speaking.
saying this is everyone. This is
Trends.
most guys, most women. The psychological events can lead many women to not knowing at all what they want. So they either don't talk about it or they just end up doing what the husband wants. The words, "I don't know," are said a lot by a lot of women in these circumstances because a lot of women have never really thought about this before. The sloth is patient, understanding. He knows that their wife's ambivalence doesn't mean that he's weak. It doesn't mean that she is rejecting him. It doesn't mean she doesn't want sex. It doesn't mean she doesn't want a scintillating sex life with you. What it does mean is that she may lack the clarity, the language,
The education.
right, to describe her own sexual identity. Because of the sexual paradoxes she, and not you, experiences, she may not even know it. And today we're trying to give you things that you now know that you don't know. For women, it's time to know it. It's time to acknowledge it. Women cannot start learning the language of her own independent sexual identity and move forward in your sexual life together as husband and wife without some clarity and some vision. It will take a lifetime to fully discover each other and our own selves. The sloth knows all of this and is patient with both himself and his wife.
Scott, you're doing a really great job of setting the stage here on what it takes for real men to be sloths and giving us a great view into a woman's experience. We are going to call it a wrap for this episode, and we invite all of our audience to join us on Friday for part 2 of Real Men Are Sloths.
We're going to talk about very practical tools and tips that you can do, men, to become real sloths in the bedroom.
It's great. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. So everybody, that's a wrap for this episode. We will catch you on Friday.
And remember, the intelligent spouse knows that they first need to change themselves in order to have a scintillating marriage.
Check us out on our social media on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and go to our marriageiq.com website and sign up for weekly tips to land in your email. They take 1 minute to read, and yet we give you an action tip that will allow you to practice what we're talking about that week.
We look forward to seeing you on Friday for another exciting episode of Marriage IQ.